When you bring a newborn home, the last thing you're thinking about is their development and them reaching their milestones. But their development starts from the moment they are born. Actually, some developmental milestones are even beginning to develop while they are still in the womb. So, for example, at just 22 weeks gestation, an unborn baby can recognize your voice, breathing, and heartbeat. It begins even before they're born. So what's some developmental milestones that you might see from 0 to 3 months of age? A lot of the milestones in these first few months are actually what we call reflexes, which is basically an involuntary or automatic action that their body does in response to something. They don't have to think about it, it just happens. So one of the first of these is the rooting reflex, which is when you touch a baby's cheek, they move their head in that direction and open their mouth. This helps them to find the bottle or breast to start feeding. You'll see this reflex last about 4 months. Another important reflex is the suck, swallow, and breathe sequence. Basically, babies, well actually adults too, we can't swallow and breathe at the same time. It's impossible. So babies have to learn to coordinate their breathing with their sucking and swallowing. So for every one suck, there is one swallow and one breath. And this is important for your baby to develop so that they can feed efficiently. There's also some more physical reflexes at this age. One of those is the palmar grasp reflex. So you know when you place your finger in a baby's hand and they wrap their little fingers around yours and you think it's so cute and they're just adorable and they just want to be with you? I'm going to burst your bubble because that action is actually a reflex. So they have no control over it. There's actually theories to suggest that this reflex has evolved as it was essential to survive for some species, so primates, where the young are carried in the fur and they have to hang on so that the mother can still forage for food and move around. But that aside, it also serves to start creating a basic motor pattern that will lay the foundation for voluntarily using this grasp in the future. Another reflex is the Moro or startle reflex. You'll see this happen when the baby is startled or feels like they're falling. And what happens is they look startled, their arms will fling out to the side with their palms up and the thumbs flexed. You'll often see doctors test for this reflex by pretending to drop them, and as mortifying as it is to see this as a parent, they are completely fine. The reason the doctor is testing it is because the absence of this reflex in a newborn is abnormal and can indicate an injury or disease. The Moro reflex will start to fade at around 2 to 4 months of age and should be completely gone by 6 months. Next reflex is the stepping reflex. You might have seen this. When a baby is held upright and their feet touch the floor or a hard surface, they appear to take steps. So they place one foot in front of the other in a walking motion. There's a few reasons for this reflex. One of these is to help babies instinctively crawl to the breast immediately following delivery. And it's also said to assist in the development of coordination of the whole body and relationship between different parts of the body. Okay, so there are a few more reflexes that develop at this age, but we've covered the main ones. So now I thought we could look at stages of play for the 0 to 3 months of age bracket. At this age, they engage in what we call unoccupied play. During this stage of play, they're basically just making lots of movements with their arms, legs, hands, and feet. And most of the time, these are random movements with no clear purpose or meaning. But they're learning about what their bodies can and can't do. They're discovering how it moves and how it works. Everything for them is new at this age, so they're learning about themselves and the world around them. This stage of play is really important as it builds the foundation for future stages of play. The final area of development that I wanted to touch on for this age group is communication, which again may sound confusing given that they are a baby, but they really do have their own way of communicating. The most obvious one, of course, is crying. Crying is a baby's way of communicating, and it's incredible because their cries can sound different depending on their needs. For example, their "I'm hungry" cry will sound different to their "I'm in pain" cry. This can be tricky to learn, but most parents quickly pick up on their child's different cries and will be able to tell you if it's a hungry cry or a tired cry or something else. At this age, they are also able to look or turn towards the source of a sound, so their parent's voice, and they can often be settled or soothed when they're spoken to. You'll also start to see them make some natural sounds like grunting, coughing, or burping. And then at around 2 months of age, you'll also see some vowel sounds start to emerge. So these are the oohs and the ahs that you typically get from babies, which we call cooing. Now, there are a few things to look out for at this stage of development. But before I get into these, I want to reiterate that every child is different. Just because they haven't met a developmental milestone doesn't mean that there is definitely something wrong with them. It just means that it might be something worth exploring and looking into, and they may need a bit of extra support. So as I mentioned above, the absence of the Moro reflex, or actually any of the reflexes, may indicate there's some physical factors that need to be looked at. If they aren't communicating, making noises, or making eye contact, it may be worth exploring why. Issues with their suck, swallow, breathe sequence can cause issues with feeding and therefore getting the nutrition they need. So this is an important one to follow up on. And also their bowel consistency and frequency, which is different for all babies. But if they appear to be in significant pain during bowel movements, if they don't have regular bowel movements, if the consistency of their bowel movements is different every time, it might be worth exploring. We do have some really great resources here in the app that touch on these different developmental, I guess you could call them concerns. So if you do have concerns, be sure to check them out to get a bit of a clearer understanding or even some more information about how you might be able to help them through it, or if they might need further intervention.